was. That was a pun.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are playing unKnights. And they're playing Secret next. Currently, they are 4 points away from Na'Vi. That means that if they win this game with a full 3 points, they'll reduce that gap to a singular point. And then we're going into that final play day where Na'Vi plays BDS, who, you gotta give it, are already confirmed. So, you know, the pressure is not as on as highly as it normally would be. But for Vitality, there's still going to be that opportunity to actually qualify for the majors, something that might have seemed a bit hard at the halftime point of this stage.
Now, can unKnights do some of the work against a team that has obviously had a very good split? They've been able to drive themselves into a very good situation. They've been able to sort of build up what, you know, Vitality, they've sort of been, they had a dip in the midst, they had a dip in the middle, but this game, out of everything, I know that I can see the Liquipedia on your tablet. Only 2 teams haven't got the background colored in now.
Left to be
from what started with only like 2 or 3 teams.
With just 3 teams indeed. That would looked out. Kavana, unKnights, and Rogue at the start of the day.
Everything has really been decided, or a lot of things have been decided today. It's very dramatic. It's a very dramatic day. For a day where we've had a lot of Milosh wearing a sombrero, it's been a very dramatic day.
He didn't wear the sombrero for BDS, right?
No, he'd forgotten about the beat.
He has to make up for it with them. That is,
he has to get a French sombrero.
A French...
We still have the French flags.
Ray.
That's something I love, is after we celebrated the French Day, we have all of those outfits hung up in the back now, and like the wardrobe closet in our studio is just turning into a costume department.
It will turn into a costume.
Over time, steadily.
All we're going to do like a mixed day, like where everybody wears something... Mufti Day?
Did you ever have... Is it called that?
No,
or is that a very English thing?
I wouldn't even know what the Dutch word for it would be.
Yeah. Mufti Day was the day that you'd come in and raise money and dress in your own clothes.
Dress in your own clothes?
Yeah, at school instead of wearing school uniform.
Well, we don't have uniforms.
Well, then that's probably why you wouldn't have said it. Hey, Clubhouse! Clubhouse unKnights are starting on their defense. A team that, as we've sort of highlighted, have gone through a few struggles, but they've put in really good fights, even in the games that they haven't been able to take. And I think that's the thing about them as a roster, is it's still so much raw skill. It's just looking for that sort of finesse. It's looking for that final guidance towards being able to brought to a sort of boil. And this could be a good place for it, as they're doing a pretty big hold here, still opening up elsewhere. Blaz is on a bit of an adventure, but otherwise stacked up. They haven't really explored towards the top floor by the looks of it. They've sort of kept themselves close to the basement to drop down if need be. And I guess that's because Vitality are very quick on clearing when they need to be.
Definitely so. Bit of a challenge is being tossed up now, but Nuray knows that a bit of pressure is coming in from the main door. Drone is trying to give some information, but there is a mute jammer right around the corner. Red ping will come out, so he might be trying to go for a bit of a challenge here. As, in the meantime, from the main door and from the garage, of course, a bit of pressure is starting to come up. A grenade will be bounced in, and that gets eaten by the ADS. And there's also going to be the call for the rest of the team, of the rest of unKnights, to fall back towards some more safe ground, because you do not want to lose someone that early on.
That combination there, 1 body on the window and 2 that were pushing the door as well. They entirely isolated, and as I said, this is why unKnights generally haven't gone for a wider clear. Vitality are so quick at capitalizing and putting pressure on what they find as a bit of a loose thread. They know how to make sure that everything is well within the lines and well within the barricades that they want to try and smash down, and it's scary.
Is that man in kitchen? That is definitely someone in kitchen. Is Blast just waiting around the corner, and he hasn't been droned out yet. They're starting to slowly open up and slowly start taking control, and there's the drone. Ooh, that is going to be the information, and that is going to be the kill. Blast gets hunted down. They had the information. They did drone him out. With that, they get the first kill.
See that? 3 different bodies, 3 different locations there. As I said, it's so scary. It's Vitality. They swarm like the bees that they're represented by. It is ferocious in how quick it can be, and obviously it's something that, as they've been in their boot camp, has only really got more dangerous, sharper, as the sting is on the end, as the sort of stripes make their way closer and closer. A minute left as they go for their close down. They've been able to get open 2 over the hatches now that they want to. They're going to try and claw and catch the 3rd one and make sure Kitchen stays standing, but it seems like most of the attention now is going to come towards Blue and potentially towards Moto.
Definitely so. They're not going to be trying to open up that kitchen hatch, it seems like. In the meantime, Bibu dropped down into oil pit. It's going to be trying to put up some pressure onto Nure. P4 will come and help, but first take care of the barbed wire with the impact. It's going to be giving him a bit more free movement as now the triple wall will be started to open up. Durs has the opportunity to go for the peak. Will try and maybe do so. That's a grenade to come right around the corner. Nure goes down. Shinka will be found, however, and will be secured surely. But that is still a man advantage here for unKnights. Vitality.
There it is, but there's the quick revenge there. They're able to get them up on the backside of the smoke. The drone came through, and that's why P4 just pushed, but they lost the fight. Keoxys heard the movement, caught out, and the trap has sprung. 10 seconds, though, and they've been able to stop the breach getting through. Sees one, sees two. Both the call will say they're in the main corridor. It's a long angle held, but you've got to get into a situation where you can try and strike here. There's Cactus getting one more.
Cactus!
Double for Cactus. The cover came through, and I guess that was that moment, letting them slip past the back of the wall from the main door comes to cost them, as they so almost clutched their way through that.
Definitely so. The trigger discipline there shouldn't have been there for this once. Normally, like, you commend people for having the trigger discipline, you know, like trying to figure out how many more will be passing and where they actually are, and this time around it costed them. Cactus with a 4K though, huge start to the round. In a very important game for Vitality, because this is the game where they have the opportunity to close up to Na'Vi up to a singular point of a deficit. And of course they have the head-to-head. And that means that if they get one more point than Na'Vi over that next play, that is given the fact that they win this one, or two more if they go in overtime and win this one, then they have the opportunity of going to Mexico purely based on the tiebreakers. Now, this is something you do not see often, actually, or actually start to see it more and more, but never really used to be a thing. The close-off of the garage wall. Just a complete closure. And then you have a little bit of an angle above just to make sure you can potentially throw something over, like a Nitro or maybe an Impact if you would feel like it, because they could try and breach that with an exothermic. And having that ability to toss an Impact over it is definitely going to be making it a bit harder for them to open up, because the first exothermic will of course be used probably on plateau wall. That is the CCTV wall. The second could be used on the side of Jacuzzi if they decide to go all the way over there to try and open that one up.
Wow, they were very quick in finding that loose thread before, and they put the pressure, and to be fair, they almost held on as the push came through from the rest. Rises making sure they have the lockdown on the far side, and you can see that they're being steady on. With Thatcher on the board, this wall will pose no real problem, so unKnights aren't in a position where they're going to try and stick it, play around it, and play against it. Bibu suffers quite a lot there. I'm wondering it was Blaz just from underneath. Now they'll have the call and the wherewithal to say, okay, well, we probably need to deal with this. That's always the downside of when you go for that so quick, especially when Blaz was hyper-aggressive before, caught out previously, almost caught them out instantly. And you think, well, that's one of the big hard destructors left, and this is why you bring two.
Definitely so, have redundancy. It's always very useful to have, as actually an opening will be made and creates a small line of sight onto the mezzanines. And that means that this Frost that is playing there in the name of Nure is going to be pretty stuck. His hat pokes out and they're trying to get the shot through. They're not quite able to get it though, and grenades are about to be coming in here. He's not able to pick up a single kill. Rise, however, gets it with the gunfight, goes for the second one. Will be able to win that one as well. That's a double kill for Vitality, and a 3-man lead they go into these final seconds with, for this final minute and a half, you have to say. It's just a bog mat that will slow them down for just a moment. They have plenty of time to pick up that down player.
Yep, caught by a mat on the top, but now they can steady their way through. There's another, but P4's playing that game. Duzzer, in the meantime, is playing a very aggressive game, taking the head off of Bibu, domed. As they're going for a bit of a rotation here around the backside a minute, but you look at the clarity that Vitality have been able to get. They've got CC open. They're looking to see if there's anything inside the top of the chassis itself. They're spraying their way across here. They're trying to get just that bit of space behind the CCTV wall in the center, and Voy has repositioned himself for the chance here of a run out with the C4 in pocket. They're ready to hit under lounge as the movement starts to come through. You assume you'll hear that C4 in just a second. Voy goes for it, moves around. There's the play, there's the explosion, there's the cold diffuser.
Definitely so, and it's only up to unK now, the last man standing. Suddenly this entire round turned around with the utility usage and the pushes that were coming through. The cover was, you know, didn't suffice for the players that were trying to go for the outwards push. And of course, there's not much you can do to the smoke canisters that were about to come in, except for throwing maybe these EMPs. And now there's 10 seconds left on the clock. unK needs to find 3 players while there's still potentially that C4 below. No, there's not even, but he's never going to be able to get the triple kill here. The time runs out, and it is going to be unKnights that win their defensive round. And now you're thinking, would there have been a way where they could have countered it? Yes, there would have been. Because if they would have tossed down those EMPs as soon as they started to go down, any smoke canister that was flying in and not instantly detonated would be disabled. And that also prevents the smoke from throwing in a new smoke canister. Because you can only throw a new smoke if the previous one has detonated. And that is why if a smoke canister gets tossed and it gets shot, you still see them click the clicker. I don't know what is it, detonator. There we go. Before they are able to get in the next smoke. So that would have been a thing. There was still 2 EMPs left on unK. That would have really been the only way they could have won that one.
The pulse to the mirror. They sort of play around the idea of saying, well, we're underneath, maybe sort of baited on the extensions with the Goyo instead. I'm curious to see how far out Blaz goes with them as they set themselves up. Still with Mirror on the board, you are going to expect some pace. You are going to expect some pressure that comes through on the opposite side. The Selmas, I mean, they're not the easiest to get off. Sometimes you'll see teams entirely use things like C4s just to stop the window being popped from the opposite side without extending yourself, because it's a very thin bit of territory and land to try and hold on to.
You see it, there's going on a bit of an excursion into the no man's land. That was supposed to be on no man's land. Able to pick up the nice hat shot onto the man that was repelling Boo. Taken out of that round. And now unKnights. They got their first defensive one. It's only been round 2, of course. We're heading into round number 3 now. Setting up with that mirror window. One towards the jacuzzi wall, as that often is a priority point of many attacking teams. And the other one will be towards construction, because that is, realistically speaking, the only other option you could sustainably go for if you want to go for a push. And often it is a combination of the two.
Well, can BB find a little bit more pace here as they get that opened up very quickly now, as they're still very quick, as I said, to sort of capitalize upon the externals. They make sure that the pressure comes against the outsides of this map quicker. And
Rise.
Oh, there goes Blaz, caught on the chance on a swing around. Do they know that he's downed?
They probably don't, because they will be chasing him down now. There's no way someone would be close enough, and there was some quick shots fired back, and now the question is, will someone be in time on the side of unKnights to actually go for the pickup there? Because it might just be that he actually dies, because he's still alone there in dirt, just holding his breath for as long as... Oh, there comes Voy.
Run, Voy, run!
He's running for it, saving Private Blaz here
Run,
this time.
Voy, run!
It doesn't seem to be detrimental for the one that is going to go for the pickup. We saw that differently with BDS, of course, last week against Shaiko.
Well, there is that window being popped. As I said, it likely would be, but then it was exploded.
Somehow.
By, I think that was a bit of team damage.
Impact.
It was an impact from Valk. So okay, because they still had Jim control. Jim window hasn't been put pressure on now. Rise is heading there now, and he just takes out the kill instantly instead of getting the sort of removal. And now they're going to have to sort of put their pressure in a little bit of a different way. There's almost a catch there, but Bibu is the one that locks off Blaz. Finally put down, and P4 finds Void. The window gets shut down, but not long before or after. Either way, you see the body and the player get dropped as well. The pre-fire around the corner and the pop turns into the end and a flawless 4 vitality.
Just wanted to take care of the shield. Suddenly a Jaeger pops up. He says, well, all right. In that case, just take you out. And that's a flawless round. It's fatality now leading the charge yet again. 2-1. And if you're looking at the bends, I'm not sure. Like, yes, the attack has been hindered with a Maverick and a Hibana Bem. It's going to be difficult to open up hatches, for example. Doesn't leave you with much opportunity left. But to say that it suddenly became a very defensive-sided map, I don't know. Like, I still think a 3-3 would be okay on this map right now, in its current state. If Vitality managed to get 3 rounds, they, of course, are slightly favored, because of the defense, of the nature of the game, I would say. But if they manage to get 4 or maybe even 5, then they are definitely putting up a statement here and are going to be warning Na'Vi that they are going to be coming for them during that final play day that will be taking place next week on the Monday, when finally everything will be decided, when finally the last 2 teams get the background colored in.
That's it. We're so close to the wire now, and obviously, you know, Na'Vi will be watching this game and sort of cheering for unKnights to hope that they keep Vitality a little bit at bay, because Na'Vi are well aware that they have a very tough game as they're 1 in hand as well to follow up. So anything extra that works into their potential pocket is more than a boon. Vitality, they have the cost, they know what the pressure is, and they're a well-storied team. They've been around for a very long time. They have a lot of history in fighting for these sort of situations with a mix of sort of younger aggression. P4, obviously, who had such a huge game last week, is one that you're sort of eyes on right now to see if they can replicate that as they do another quick, steady, aggressive approach here. This time there are bodies on the top floor, a bit of a change of pace as to how unKnights held this before, and that roam could cause a bit of a problem if it's able to strike at the right time. Voy turns on the gadget, pops around the corner, just doesn't get caught, and is able to slip all the way back down, leaving the 2 bodies above.
Definitely so. Now unKnights, those 2 above still, of course, have a bit of a hole, have a bit of time that they can try and stall. Vitality will have to make a decision. When is it been enough? Like, when are we gonna abandon this plan? Because suddenly they're, well, currently, actually, they're only being hunted actively by maybe 1 man. And Shinka is right around the corner. Could at any moment start to swap as well, but it might just be better to hold up the rotation and start hitting the side directly, because you could be flooding the side 3 to 5. You could be putting that up. All you need to do is just make sure that they're not going to be able to instantly fight back from above.
Now, behind the siege press, they wait with the C4, ripping it, and the audio that gives off is almost a deterrent. It sort of says, listen, you can't get close this way. You've got to find an alternate, because you're also, you know, teeing off there with Thatcher. You've still got work to do down beneath. You know you've still got problems, possibly. You've still got to try and find your way past some of the jammers, some of the other bits of utility dug in as you try and drive behind the back of blue. Nure pulls away, doesn't want to stick around, but look at this. The flood comes through and it goes in the way of unKnights as the opener, but they're able to drive their way into Church. Bibu suffers, but scrapes their way through as Rise takes the drop on the opposite side on the Moto hatch. They slip all the way through, but Blaz round on the back is looking for this fight. So's Rise, who is more aware. It's Blaz. Strikes quick, finds some of the vengeance that they've been looking through throughout this game so far. Finally has that bit and bout of success. And now in the 4 versus 2, Vitality is dug in, stuck on the backside of sight. They are well aware there's a body rotation onto Moto as well, just on top of the hatch, I believe. They have that extension and that pressure. Yep, it's Durza who has made their way round. They're waiting to catch a little bit of the loose play here, but 20 seconds. Bibu is trying to edge away in a little bit closer. The diffuser isn't currently in hand and won't be, as it's held, trapped, and dropped by Voy. One more for Chaoxis, and unKnights are able to bring themselves back to balance.
There was no time to hunt the roamers. There was only an opportunity to try and flood the sides, and unfortunately, the first 2 initial kills went to the ways of unKnights, and that allowed them to push on, to make sure that they were going to be able to get the momentum of that round into their favor, shut them down right dead in their tracks. And it keeps us drawed, keeps us equalized for now. No one is walking away with a 2-round lead. For now, it has been trade after trade after trade. CCTV cache coming up yet again. The sites that Vitality managed to get under control. Just the clutch was too strong. The smoke canisters that were coming out, mainly just forcing Bibu to go to a different position, which eventually got him killed. Then, of course, as well, the players just running in at that same moment because Chaos was on. They needed to start entering the side at the moment he died because someone needs to pick up that diffuser. Someone needs to take up his role and make sure that that diffuser gets planted and the 45 seconds start ticking down in your favor. And under that chaos, unKnights were able to find success. And now again going to this site. Many holes are being created, many lines of sight. All to be challenged from inside lounge or inside the bar into stock. Stock often a place, of course, where players go to toss up grenades from below or to start bucking away. Of course, no buck around this time, but definitely grenades on the side of Rise. We'll have something to try and counter that at least.
Up to the top we go for a bit of an exploration onto seeing if they can reshape themselves. Obviously, they found themselves a little bit wanting when the final push came through. They couldn't quite dismantle the bodies of unKnights, even though they sort of got that early strike, and here's the change of pace. A little bit more work potentially to be done on the opposite side of construction, limit some of the pressure, limit some of the movement that they were otherwise allowed before, and to be fair, they had the biggest movement of all, took themselves all the way down from the site towards the bottom. The claw is attempted, but doesn't quite get the catch that they wanted to as they're steadying on. Nura is going to dig themselves in on this far side. Make sure that if anyone tries to get close onto the rafters, they still have it, but it's just a matter of seeing how long that they can survive in that location, and Vitality are well aware of this.
Definitely so. A lot of pressure here for Vitality. What it needs to do is just get the opening now. Manage to get the guy in garage, and that opens up so many avenues for you. Fatalities. Oh, that's Claymore. That could be really spicy because if he walks backwards... Okay, Keox's nose. All right, I'm a bit stuck now. Someone's being tossed out. I'll be taken care of. Some new Germans, I believe, will be countering that off. That's the first smoke canister toss in. That's quite early. Grenade there will be taking care of Nure. Downs him, and P4 managed to get that kill, and that means they can now take control of the rafters.
Yeah, it was a bit of a preemptive smoke there, I think potentially for one thing to cover the sight lines towards the rafters in a vain hope, but also to make sure that once they tried to go for the push on the rafters, they couldn't do a quick push onto the site itself as well. Cactus is going to drift their way to the top and let the rest of Vitality rotate themselves around. As I said before, they sort of entirely stacked up inside rafters, inside this area here, and it left unKnights in a position where they could be a bit of a backline. They're still with a huge amount of information, but they're losing the fights inside the site itself, and there's bodies inside the bar underneath. They're making sure that they have that lounge control, they have that rotation limited, and that's where the Jaeger lost their life. A little bit more of an opening so they can get the very close corner plant here. Keoxys has 2 more smoke canisters in pocket, so is more than ready and able to try and defer this if they go for that. There's the swing round. There's somebody with a long pre-fire, and it's Void who's able to get the first off on P4. That's underneath in lounge. That's a bit of a blow to the Vitality approach here. If you remember, the C4 was a bit of a cost before.
And there's only 1 smoke canister left, however, 22 seconds, and that Nitro available on the side of Void. They're rushing in. They're going to try and spread their chances here, going in deep. There's no way Void is going to be able to find this. Maybe, actually, the Nitro comes out. It's going to be able to pick up a double kill, and that brings it to a one-on-one situation. 8 seconds left on the clock. Shinka is sticking the plant, and Void needs to move up. Is he going to be in time? That is the question. Spots him out and gets the kill. Void clutches it out. A double kill from the Nitro, and eventually just able to rotate up through these red stairs in time. That is allowing unKnights to take the lead here at this very moment. unKnights, who had a blast of a game against G2, brought it very close as well. Just like Vitality did. Now they're up against each other to see who's taking home the win tonight.
Well, it was a heck of a play. It's the C4s underneath. They knew the territory that they wanted to control. P4 lost out, as I said, a very important gunfight because the C4 was dangerous. The calls and the intel to recognize the movement of Vitality as well, put that C4 in the place that it needed to be, gifted by the double. I think, obviously, you're always going for the planter, but I believe the player on the shoulder was very low health, which led into the fact that they're able to...
I think Bibu himself was low on HP.
Yeah, it was 2 wounded people. It's like when you line up a shot and you're sort of like, okay, less to go through. And I mean, it sort of came together there for unKnights, and after a bit of a rocky start, missing out on the rotation there and the chance here, this is definitely a game that I feel like is going to go a heck of a distance. They've got to see if they can make things connect, though, on Jim, and this was a very good Vitality take and a flawless previously.
It was definitely a very good take. It was flawless, and let's see if they can do it again. I think last time they did focus a bit too much on the jacuzzi wall, however. For a very long time, there were 4 players all around there, and yes, they managed to shut down Blaz, who otherwise would have surely been able to pick up a kill if they did not. And the ADS is being guided in by Kioxis. He's like, no, I want him here, like at this very spot, because that is going to be more likely to catch a grenade that flies in. And that's a quick opening on CCTV wall here. Bibu opening that one up as the rest of Vitality seeming to drone out the garage. Now checking top red. That is something we saw Rogue not do in the past, and it cost them dearly. And Vitality making sure they're not making these similar mistakes, and we're trying to get as much information as they possibly can before really heading into CCTV.
Yeah, again, different style, different approach, but look at Bibu yet again sets himself up there, is able to strike back. The combination, the multifaceted moments of Vitality where they'll go from the left and the right at the same time and make sure that you have nothing else comfortable. They're able to very quickly minimize that extension, and what other teams might find themselves struggling for on a fight for a very long time, they just plow through. The use of drones and the hop movement is really exceptional in terms of that take, and that allows them to start going and focusing towards construction and logistics.
Now, need an EMP, just got tossed in, and that means that Logi wall will be opened up any second now. Forster's out a little bit, not really going to be able to play as safely as before, as P4 just quickly checking if the kitchen has an opportunity of actually going for the mirror window from here, maybe. He's looking to find an exit. There you have it. That is going to be the verticality, and the mirror shuts out as well. And now Blaz is all aware of the fact that the player is below, but suddenly their Logi hold just got a lot less strong twice.
Yeah, they'd sort of pulled themselves out there as soon as they lost that Jaeger on the extension. They realized that it was heftily under pressure and the hold there was never going to be comfortable. Got themselves in just on the small cubby corner. But now P4 is going to put pressure up the main brick stairs. They want to try and swing in. They sort of pulled away from their hold before. The C4 around the corner ripped and dropped, and the spray becomes the firefight that goes their way. The shotgun locks it off, but it's suddenly a 3 versus 2. Cannot swing the firefight from that sort of range. Savoy is going to pull themselves back. There's a little bit of a hold here as they're looking to try and get the snuck-in plant. It is just Voy. He's going to move in amongst the smoke, slow and steady, crept to a new bit of a location. Got the hop and the drop on the first. Just sees the second, can't control it, but Cactus is downed. That puts him in a much better situation now. They're going to utilize Cactus as that little bit of a crawl of intel.
They know where he is. There's a bulletproof cam still up around inside the Logi. Not sure if they smashed it. He's missing the shot, however. Bibu manages to win it out, and it seemed like they could have been aware. Just the shot was right on the shoulder, and Bibu a little bit quicker on that trigger afterwards. And that keeps us all equalized yet again. Vitality bring it back. We're 3-3. Even split of that first half. And now it's Vitality to go over to the defense. The Oryx is being brought out. Church and Arsenal is on. And when you see an Oryx and you do see Church and Arsenal, you know one thing is for sure, and that is that every single hatch that is not leading into the basement is going to be opened up. And maybe even one that is leading into the basement. Of course, often the bar hatch will be the one to sacrifice for it. And that is going to be a lot of roam potential. You could clear out that top floor, you could start attacking the bottom, but suddenly someone could be striking from above, and you wonder why.
Wow, Vitality. 3-3 on the half, but it's club. It can be very back and forth, and now it's down to you to try to solidify your chances of pulling up the board, pulling within the precious top 4, because the race is so narrow, and you are one of the only 2 races really left.
Definitely so. There's only 2 teams left in the competition to try and get a hold of that 6 major spot. But you might be thinking, well, if they are, then, you know, why is unKnights playing this well? Well, you know, they're fighting to not get relegated at the end of the season, because we count up all points for the full 3 stages, and that means that everything will count at the end. Every single round you play could count, because there was a point in this competition where during this stage we could have had a 3-way tie at the end, and we have tiebreaker rules, which goes from head-to-head, or points, head-to-head, map win percentage, round win percentage, etc., etc. So it could have been that we actually had the very final tiebreaker rule to come into place, which could have been that round win percentage, and that shows you that every single round you play might influence an outcome later on.
Well, There is a quick bit of movement as Vitality pull themselves away. Rise has that pace he can apply. Blaz tried to be the cutoff point, but they'd already slipped their way past main stairs. They realized the pressure was early. The Valk camp gets got inside. They still have the one on kitchen side, and you're looking at just generally a couple of potential bouts of damage. The impacts to try and trick it, and then a C4, if not maybe 2 in the pockets of P4 as well. The first goes quite early, waiting for the spot on the cams as Vitality pull themselves back.
Because the camera might have been spotted out, so they really want to make sure that they are going to be able to get the kill. The player that's out there, and Blast seems to be going in. This could be very dangerous. It's starting to open up and waiting to go for the bait, and there goes the Nitro Cell a bit too early. They had a cam. They could have been aware of the fact that he wasn't on there, but decided to blow it up either way, and the hatches have been left soft, at least one of them, the one that leads into blue. And then Maiden fights at the side of unKnights to actually go for a blue side push, or hopefully send in some players from that side.
Wow, can they steady themselves here as they look towards the church side? That's still just that job of shepherding, but you still have a huge amount of work to do, even when your eyes down towards the site itself. It is a monolithic, seemingly flat surface that is so tough to break through at certain points, and that was the problem that Vitality had. They ended up just trying to drive themselves and won it once, but almost didn't twice. There's the catch, but they realized it was a bit too low, so couldn't quite pop off the impact. Now, though, still in a position to try and hit the next. It's not an easy shot for unKnights to try and make underneath, and Cactus with that gun, we know what he can do. He's a surgeon from a long range, and at a short range, he is often unstoppable.
Ray gets the first kill, however, and tries to continue to cut into the church as he's on the motorcycle hatch. A grenade is being pulled, it's getting tossed right around the corner. Cactus gets blocked just a little bit. No real damage done, however, and the members of unKnights are starting to come around as Cactus gets 2 kills and has the opportunity to go for 3. Will be able to find it. It's a 3v2 situation. 10 seconds left on that clock. They need to start moving in. Durza dropped it only up to Kioxis now. He has a good angle to the side. He doesn't spot the Melusi, however, and will be taking down Mabibu in the end. And Vitality are able to get their 2 rounds in a row now, and that means that they will take or retake control of the match that they had earlier on, but never were they able to get 2 in a row. It was unKnights who did it first, and now it's up to Vitality to show that they can actually get a 2-round lead compared to just the 2 rounds in a row. And if they do manage to do so, they set themselves up well for the final sprint to 7. Because an overtime win, well, it might be enough to stay in the race. It might not be enough in the end to go to the 6th major. And you want to make sure that you did everything you could. And this is their last day on their bootcamp at Stade de France. So they want to make sure that they get the full 3 points here, just to put themselves into the best possible position for the last and final play day.
Hey, Durza, what's that?
What do you say?
Hey, Durza, what's that?
I was like, what do you say? Yeah, it's going to be the Amara that comes in. And that is something that trademarks unKnights, you can almost say. Or Tempra, or Easy Dream, or whatever name they played under before. The Amaru plants.
Yes. And it's a pace that they love to apply. They like to sort of play around with the aspects that can be put forward there. It's not the easiest sort of map to make those sort of potential plays, but still, if you're looking at a bit of territory here, if you're looking at a quick way to get in and underneath, especially towards Jim, if any team is ever going to try that, it's unKnights.
I was going to say, it's probably going to be Jim Hatch that this will be used, and I'm trying to find a way that you can compare the Amaru jump in from. Like you could of course use Oryx. You're not able to shoot as well. You have the opportunity to drop back down as Oryx. As soon as you're Amaruing in, you are going in. There's no way out. But as you can see him set up all around strip. Did he just shoot the Selma?
I think he threw.
Yeah, but you can pick it up if it's on the ground.
Oh.
And it's not blowing up. So I'm not sure if he shot a Selma or if it got stuck on something that it apparently cannot be picked up from. Either way. The thing I'm trying to say is that Durza already setting himself up well underneath that hatch, putting himself up and helping himself with some flank drones as well. All they really need to do is open up the jacuzzi wall and put someone in onto the bedroom window to cut out the rotates that Rise could be holding off. And all that you have to do then is just quickly get the Gara hook out, shoot it up, and that's exactly what Durza's about to do.
Well, P4's dug in on the corner. Strikes first, though, and there is the quick trade and the play from the other side. CC swings, but it's an entire lockdown inside. Vitality come off worse for wear, though. Everything exploded at the same time. That leaves Bibu stuck in logistics, and, well, I say construction. Now he's in logistics, and he's able to at least pull some pieces together. They're 2 versus 1. They have the diffuser, though, and they're still just kind of steadying, holding on to the angles for now. There's a bit of a wait, a bit of a lull, and suddenly an explosion of bullets. There is an unKnights ammo plant. Hope you all enjoyed it, because it's an explosion onto a site.
That's it. The ammo itself doesn't necessarily have to get any kills. It's just a pure chaos that follows on top of it. Suddenly, someone is in the middle of sight. Every single gun is being pointed towards that direction, and that buys you a split second to go in and get the other 4 members active and gunning and making sure that that round will go your way. And Void, 12 kills so far, doing wonders for unKnights, who are looking to... they are literally the gatekeepers right now. That is it. unKnights have the opportunity to deny Vitality their shot at the 6 major and confirm Na'Vi tonight. If they win, full points, unKnights that is, Na'Vi are in. That is going to be, I think, a bit bitter if you qualify like that. You want to do it on your own force, but you still qualify.
I mean, it's always one of those conversations is, sure, a team wants to qualify on the back of a win because you want to win and then celebrate. But at the same time, they're only in that position because of the hard work.
That is true. Of the hard work that they did throughout the entire season. They're still 4 points ahead of Vitality. So they did get the wins in necessary to get the qualification. Yeah. It just feels a little bit better if it's on the back of a win.
Well, unKnights, they're keeping themselves in this so far. It's been back and forth, and obviously we've seen Vitality able to start to structure some play here and start to claw their way back into the lead. They had a bit of that momentum, a bit of that swing on the latter half, and now as they try and double down inside Gym instead of opting for CC, they've got an extension onto that side, and obviously we're not going to see a double down. But the concern right now is sort of in the pockets of a lot of unKnights players come down to clutches. It's come down to big moments, some of these rounds and stuff like that, and that's always a bit tougher to build yourself around on an attack. You've got to see if you can pull some of the plays and players away, and obviously that was one of the first times I think that we've seen generally, statistically, more unKnights bodies alive as the average of a round rather than even, or they're working against the tide.
Anyway, there it comes. EMP just to make sure that the Selma will eventually explode and start opening up an angle that might necessarily not be watched straight away is a grenade. Just a little bit short of hitting the mark. It's going to be Vitality that is well aware of the player below now. Shields are being repositioned. They need to make sure that they are ready as a second one has been cooked a little bit too little. That's going to be explode a little bit down below the eventual mark. I think that was a Valkyrie camera, or was that a drone? I'm not quite sure. That they have outside of box. I think it was a drone, actually. If that was the case, then they'll know no one is actively running out on it, but why would they? What we do know, however, is that there's only a minute 20 left on the clock. Time is starting to tick, and that means the unKnights need to move. The grenades of Blast have not been successful. No other grenades are available to them, and now they need to make sure that they will get the execute going with whatever they have left. And, well, unKnights not really having much control.
Yeah, they're trying a way up. There was a lot of loose play there from Bibu, who was going on a bit of a roam, but with only a minute left, they've decided they're going to opt for all the bodies back on the site itself. Blaz is steadily creeping their way, potentially towards red, and waiting to maybe strike on a body that comes around on the opposite side, but Bibu has nowhere else to be, and they've sort of ignored that CC extension just for now, even though they suffered from it a little bit before. They're waiting to potentially do their start and their collapse here. There's a bit of an audio lull and a bit of a buzz as we come into this final 30 seconds, stacked up on multiple different sides. Blaz and Bieber are isolated on the far side as the smoke canisters pop on the top of main stairs and on that little slip road in as well. Nora hits it as Void goes for the close confrontation just with Rise on the construction window. It's Blaz that gets the early strike. Nora, Chaoxis get the double down, but 15 seconds and P4 strikes for an important double there, puts the body balance into a 1 versus 1. P4 steps up, steps in, hits the plate, and puts Vitality back in the lead.
Oh, what a clutch that was there, P4. Great play coming through. He's keeping Vitality in it here. Just a singular point to stay competitive. And anything more will broaden their chances. Broaden is making up words.
No, it's a good word.
Is it a good word?
I like it.
What does it mean?
I don't know. I don't think it's
I don't know either. But yeah, they are starting to get closer to the mark where they have the opportunity to try and qualify next week. Now, if they get a singular point, they need Na'Vi, yes, to get 0 points next week whilst winning themselves. They will win that on the back of a tiebreaker. The more points they get, the more points Na'Vi is allowed to get. So, you know, the better your opportunities become. And unKnights, right now, well, they want to gladly deny them the opportunity of making it to the 6th major. Of course, because they do not want to end at the bottom of that scoreboard at the end of Stage 3. They want to make sure that their EUL 2022 campaign is going to be set in, because who knows, maybe they will be actually the ones that are actively contesting for major spots, for league final spots and stuff.
I think that's the thing about the team as well, is obviously, you know, at points we have it pop up in the top corner, the sort of recent track record, and it's, I believe all losses is the recent track record for unKnights, but they're so good in all the games. Like, they're always so close. It's always these big fights, these big moments, and it's just sort of getting that consistency, getting that solidity locked in here at this moment in time. Having Blaz not quite being able to lock in the same way P4 is, obviously two players that are, you know, you don't always compare players, but in terms of the role, in terms of the damage that they can do, and in terms of the potential for those two players, it's huge. And you know, you're wondering if he could make some of the connections that P4's been able to so far this game. It could be a different score. P4 in the same position he was sort of able to strike with before. He loves hiding on that chassis.
Definitely so. And it's not really a 1v3 clutch, but, you know, 2v3 turned down into a 1v1 in the end, and P4 able to get the win there. One that might prove to be very important. As a shield will be set up to help potential bandit tricking against the ever-looming threat. Struggling.
It's okay.
Of the exothermic that could be coming out. Of course, there is going to be the Thatcher available, which will be making it quite easy to open up, as Kioxis now will do exactly downside of the jacuzzi wall. No need for a EMP here, however, as there's no denial on that wall. All that will happen is that P4 and Shinka are starting to fall back just a little.
Yeah, and all the way just a lot. They realize they can't be isolated. It's something that they always do, Vitality. They move as pairs. They don't really throw a loose player or a loose singular unless it's sort of the dying minute. During that early 2 minutes, they make sure that if they're trying to keep control and trying to have a bit of a stretch, there's always at least somebody to go for the trade, if not the cover on the movement back in. It's something they do really well, and it forces unKnights to play a little bit of a slower game. The thing about unKnights is when they want to explode, when they want to sort of put the pressure onto a site quickly, they are very good at that. So they're happy, sort of happy to play this slower game, but just being able to get a scrape could be a good moment. There's a ping, there's a spot, there's a spray just on the corner. It's P4 that gets it. Voy gets the pick up immediately after, but what a loss on a hot ping.
Definitely not a loss you want to have, and that is going to be making it a little bit more difficult for unKnights to push through. Now, they definitely shouldn't have lost the player there. And now, Vitality in a 4v4, but the nades are off the board, and the push might be getting a little bit more pace now as there's opening up, of course, with the breaching round. Still need to open up on the plateau wall, and that's exactly what is going to go on now. It's the EMP that comes out, it's the exothermic to follow up, and the Selma's on the other side. It's going to be Bibu that unfortunately will be too late with his trick.
Yeah, it looked like he wanted to try and trick it and play against it there. Shot out his own one to see if he could replant it underneath the EMP, but no time, no dice. Shinka underneath. We've seen how big those C4s can be if uncontested, and to be fair, was the sort of swing round both times. unKnights were able to lock in their hold here on CC, so is it something that they should be a little bit more aware and akin to? Rise still has Rafters control. It's a big bit of retail that was otherwise not really afforded to them before. unKnights try trying to slip in, drop everything that's on the door itself. There's another canister that goes a bit wider, forces them out. 20 seconds, though. And they've got to see if they can strong-arm their way in against a very reinforced push here. There's a whole angle and a whole split. Nure's trying to get the lockdown and the cover there on Rise. Dropped through the spray by Voy. Hops in towards the chassis. Goes for a little bit of aggression on the top of red. Loses the fight, though. And Voy has only a handful of seconds to try and creep their way up. It otherwise entirely goes blue. And Vitality put themselves on map point. And for the first time this game, a team is 2 rounds ahead of the other.
There you have it. That's a bit of momentum they might need to make sure that they are going to be able to have an opportunity of closing it out, because they have to now to pick up the full 3 points. And Vitality, they desperately need them if they want to make it to a major. And how long ago has it been until Vitality... What's the last time Vitality actually played a major? That is a very good question. I am going to do the Google. Or Wikipedia. Okay. Other search engines are available.
I mean, when it was, probably a very different Vitality.
That was definitely a very, very different Vitality, but we're still going to try and find out when the last major was. So we're scrolling all the way back, and then we have that's a qualifier, that doesn't count. We're going even further back. We're going even further back. The 6th major Paris.
Oh.
That is 2018. They
Classic.
Played. And let's see what the roster was of the Vitality that played then. Zephyr, Bibu, actually, he's still on. Rafal, Spark, Bride, and Beals as the coach. So definitely a very different Vitality that qualified back then. One of the players, however, still on that roster.
That's it. It's the sort of name has been in the game for a very, very long time, and
yes,
Helby would have been there as well, technically, but with were they IDK there? I don't know.
I think I might be able to still pull it up. There we go.
As the coach?
I don't see an IDK tag.
Oh, then they were a secret at that point.
There we go. Yeah, actually he is. Helby as the coach.
So Helby would have been there as well. I'm trying to think where everybody else might have been at that time. I'm trying to think if Rise was there, but at that time...
in the Millennium.
Yeah. Okay. We're just going through history now. It would have been Millennium. Yeah.
Yeah, Rise under Millennium.
Rise under Millennium. Yeah. Just trying to remember how things happened a while ago. Sorry about that. But
it's been 3 long years.
3 long years. 3 long years for a lot of these players since the last time they tread the boards on that biggest, that most grandest of stages, and here, especially together, they're trying to dig their way through 6-4. 2 rounds is the difference here for unKnights. They're trying to get a bit of a handle on what is otherwise a bit of a loose play. Look at this. Rise is trying to meet their maker instantly, and their maker is Chaoxis, who's holding the angle, gets the drop. There's a second body, as I said. They're a team that loves to have the structure, loves to have the support, the hand-holding. Remember the buddy system when you go on a roam to make sure you're more likely to return safe. But in this sort of situation where everything has otherwise gone away and you can't quite get the hand to hold to pull back to sight, well, just disappear yourself. You still have the structure of what is a lot of heft of the basement of club. It offers you your own buddy system to hold the hands in at the same time, and you can see if you can turn the party into something a little bit more successful than that play on the top floor.
Rise, a bit of an unnecessary death early on, of course. Wanted to go for the fight, potentially was stuck and didn't see another way out, and probably might have been able to get a very important kill into that heart breach, which of course does make it very difficult to go for these kind of takes. And unKnights now setting themselves up for a potential push through either the hallway or to go through the triple wall. So motorcycle already being opened up, cameras are being taken out as well by Chaoxis at the very same time, and unKnights are definitely giving away the intention of going for the church side of things. There's, however, going to be a mute gemmer that is going to be blocking out that Selma, and I'm not sure if that EMP will be able to get it. No, definitely not. It's going to be able to get rid of the ADS, however.
Gone 6 takes care of the Maestro cam now as they're able to finally get open some pressure onto the wall. That reinforcement makes it a little bit tricky as Voy has to go for the rotate round onto Oil to make sure that they have the support around the stairs. Cactus, however, he's stepped up, reveals the Gemini as the game played, and the grenade is going to be the bounce just around the close corner. Still trying to get that body out from the wall itself, forcing them further and further back. The angle is being held. Durza needs to try and apply some pressure on the opposite side. The Toesies, oh nosies, as they get the open of the spray through, but it's suddenly coming through for them. There it is. Shinka is is left in a 1 versus 2 situation on the back line with a C4 in pocket. Wants to try and take the cover down the long. Takes that very dip dive there. The pickup, they didn't stick it!
No, because like they managed to run through. So what they did is they called, he is coming, he's in blue. So they were like, all right, we need to reposition, and then realized there is no time left. So you went off just to realize there is no time to reposition. I should stick it. And Vitality get 3 points as a result, just purely on the back of, I believe it was Shinka that ran through along the 2 guns that were aimed down the main hallway because he managed to sneak in blue.